Ben, it looks like the garden is off to a fabulous start. Would you give us an update on what's currently growing in the garden and what your plans are for the rest of the season?
We've got lots going on so far. We got our garlic planted last fall, so we're doing our first garlic scape harvest right now. Fantastic. With the garlic coming out at the end of July. We have summer squash, okra, onions, green onions, kohlrabi, lettuce, spinach, radishes going in the ground today, beans, and potatoes. Got lots and lots going on.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful. I love getting to work outside every day. That's not always the case at every job, so I feel really lucky to be able to do that. A lot of the time doing things like bed prep, getting the land ready, planting and transplanting, and then of course harvesting is kind of the exciting part when we get to actually see what, the fruits of our labor, I guess. So.
Yeah, we've spent some time last week cleaning up the raspberry patch, so that should be yielding nicely this year. We've cleaned up the area around the currants and peaches, and we'll be spending some time learning more about orcharding so we can do more outside of the garden as well. So yeah, lots going on outside of the garden area too.
Now, with all these plans that are in place, and don't want to put you on the spot, but what do you think the yield will be from this garden this year?
I think we'll get at least 2,000 pounds of produce out of the garden this year.
That's fantastic. Well, that's 2,000 pounds that will go to good use.
Indeed.
So thank you. Now, the Siloam Garden site wouldn't be the success it is without the generosity of several granting organizations.
For the last 4 years, we've received Canada Summer Jobs grants, and because of those grants, we've been able to employ young people to work in our garden, grow food and produce food. This year, for the first time, we received a grant from Eco Canada, which is the Environmental Careers Organization, and we have a worker here all summer because of that grant. And finally, we've received a grant this year from the United Church of Canada Foundation, a Seeds of Hope grant, which will allow us to run an intergenerational program where young people come, harvest food, and then work with older individuals in our congregation who are skilled with canning and making jams, and those young people will learn how to make pickles and jams, which we can then sell. They can take home to their families, and it's a wonderful learning opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Eco Canada grant is a huge help to this project. I know I've heard from members of the church about kind of what harvest we've been able to get from this site over the past couple years, and I know it has definitely suffered in years where there aren't dedicated staff. Having someone here all summer ensures that the food is getting harvested and used, and the weeds are managed and the pests are managed, and so we're getting a good crop, and then we're getting it harvested and onto people's plates.
One of the key objectives this year was to engage in the community through volunteer programs and education. I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what your plans are there.
Yeah, so far we have booked Luso Community Service, so their youth group, and actually families will be attending a weekly volunteer for an hour here out in the garden.
Yeah.
And then we also have some other youth groups around the city that we're hoping to book in for this season.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, we had King's College join us, did they not?
Yes, we had King's University College had a course on land-based education. So we had about 5 students here where they learned, actually they did some volunteer session of planting the potatoes.
Oh, good.
And then they did a little learning session on the teachings of the indigenous teachings of strawberries and wild rice, and actually maple syrup, and then we made a little dish that's a traditional indigenous dish of wild rice, strawberry, and maple syrup, which is very delicious actually, by the way. So I'm excited to make that for my family now. But yeah, it was really informative and a way to utilize the garden to really have that relationship building with the land.
Yeah, the unique thing with Urban Roots, there's the food systems aspect, the environmental aspect, and the social as well, and I think it can be rare to find an organization that kind of covers all of those different spectrums, and so it feels even that much more rewarding knowing that your hard work and the work you're doing outside and enjoying is actually feeding people in the community. So it's really wonderful and really rewarding.
Can you give us an idea where this fresh produce actually goes?
Yeah, so the produce that's grown at the garden here goes back to Silence Food Cover program with the United Churches. And then it also goes to supporting some of the silent families as well. And then in addition to that, we distribute it out through our donation partners that are various frontline resource centers, organizations that are working on food security and their own food programming programs.
Yeah.
And then also through our community pop-up markets.
Yeah.
So that produce that's also grown here goes through those community pop-up markets with various community partners, host pop-up markets in targeting low-income neighborhoods and historically marginalized neighborhoods.
Right.
And that's at no cost to those individuals and families accessing that produce.
That's so important to us,
Yes.
and it's a great program. Thank you.
Yes, working on the food security and making sure we can feed our families.
Absolutely, absolutely. And finally, we have some wonderful news to share with you today. We're offering fresh produce for sale in the Arva Atrium right after church service every week through July and August. Now, you're not going to get any fresher produce unless you grow it yourself. So please support our sale. It gives our young people a chance to learn about retail, and all the proceeds will go to supporting the garden. So thank you, Siloam, for your continued support of this very, very important project.